Yeah, it's kind of a big thing to process, like this whole like the last 100 years of my field has done a lot of bad.
Yes, it has, but the what you need to figure out is that many people have made a lot of profit from it.
Yeah.
So that it has kept the machine going, okay? So
And
yes,
I've seen it in other fields, like you can see like in pharmaceuticals or like in other things like and it's like I never put this way of thinking to my field until now. I did a little bit when I heard you talk about this back in 2013,
yeah.
but I still found a way to make a lot of contemporary architecture fit into the human scale and everything you were describing. But
But
last week,
most of it doesn't. Some of it does in pieces, but most of it doesn't. There's no way you can make it fit in. But nothing so huge and obvious continues unless people are making profit. So people are making profit out of the stuff. But and the irony is that the real estate speculator who pays for a building, they can insist on a gorgeous, beautiful, healthy building that looks different. Okay, they're going to make the same profit, but they're afraid that some architecture critic will just pan the building, saying this is a terrible building, and they will lose customers. They will not be able to sell the offices.
yeah. And a lot of times the first question the real estate developer asks is how fast can I get it permitted?
Yeah,
How fast can we do it? So then you end up being like, okay, the fastest you could do it. And then we're just honest with them. Okay, the fastest you could do it. If you don't spend much time on schematic design,
mm,
we're going to spend this many months in city processing anyway, and this many months in construction documents anyway. So we can shorten the schematic design because
yeah,
the city doesn't care about that. So then you end up designing the building in a week and not spending time to figure out like how to make it more humane, more comfortable.
yeah. Okay, so stop right there. Today, with AI plugged into design techniques, a lot of what would take months to create a human scale, human proportion building can be done using AI help. So it's not that, you have to spend 3 months of the firm making a nice design. You can use AI to help you. So again, it's not a question of money. This was true 100 years ago. Okay, the same question and the same answer comes from ornamentation. 100 years ago, people would say, well, the client, I don't want to spend money on ornament. It's too expensive. You have to have somebody hand carve the stone. Well, today is 3D printing,
Yeah,
and it doesn't
true.
doesn't cost anything.
That would be an amazing thing to incorporate some 3D printed ornamentation onto architecture.
People are doing it. The classical architects are doing it. I have friends who are ornamentors. They produce ornament using the latest cutting edge 3D printing techniques. And their clients are classical architects. So the classical architect gets a commission to design a hospital. Okay, the hospital doesn't have money to waste on ornament. They get the 3D design and it looks beautiful and it costs just as much as just glass and steel.
The only architect I know who's doing ornamented classical architecture is Leon Krier. He's the only one that I'm familiar with.
Yeah, but he is one of 50 or 100.
That's true.
He's the most famous one because it's probably the most eminent one. But there are many, many all over the world who are doing traditional buildings, and they are the clients of the ornamentors who use the latest techniques to create ornament.
I remember hearing Leon Krier say, everyone tells me, oh, your buildings are easy to design because they're classical, traditional. Us designing contemporary buildings, we're doing the difficult thing. And Leon Krier said, just try it. Try it and see if it really is easy. It actually takes a lot of skill.
And of course it is, because the easiest thing to design is a glass rectangle.
Yeah.
And everyone does that. They should be ashamed to charge an architect's fee.
Yeah.
So anyway, I'm writing a paper that's now under review that The world has changed due to AI. AI has come in and has revolutionized architecture, except the architects don't know it. The architects take AI and use AI to create the flashy, crazy looking building. That's not the real application of AI. The real application of AI is to create a human scale building to save those weeks of hand drafting that would create the details, because the AI does that for you. And the AI checks the spaces and the proportions and the ceiling heights.
I remember seeing one piazza in Italy that was okay. So I'm thinking about human scale. Human scale. There's some that are actually very massive. But I guess when it comes to the articulation, like material change, color change, that's where maybe a lot of contemporary cities fall short.
Well, look, contemporary cities fall short because the rules for designing urban space have been lost. And I have written several papers on how to design urban space. Of course, no contemporary architect follows them. They think they know better. They don't realize that an urban space is a complex system that contains visual surroundings and contains the paths, and the paths plus the visual surroundings, the facades, form a complex system that interacts with each other. So you need to have the correct footpaths, and the footpaths to cross the plaza have to be drawn in by visual interest. So if you have glass towers around the plaza, nobody's going to use it because the glass towers are totally boring to look at. You need to have visual interest to draw people into the plaza. Next, you have to have the urban feeding of the plaza. So you have to have people who can walk to the plaza from a surrounding, say, 5 blocks all around the plaza. Where are they going to come from? If it's offices, they will come only during lunchtime. So that's why you have to have mixed use urban fabric. So you have to have a certain percentage of people who live there. And then the locals will walk to the plaza. If you can't walk to the plaza, it's useless. This is what Americans do. They drive 20 minutes, they park the car to walk on a plaza. That's crazy. So,
Yeah.
a few people do it, but it's not sustainable.
Yeah, the live work model that some countries have is great. And it's like here, pretty much everyone I know has to, just like you said, you drive to work, park, walk to the office, and the live work model, like no one has it here. I mean, maybe some people do. I don't know.
Well,
So
yeah,
is this what you're describing in your book, Principles of Urban Structure? Sorry,
yeah,
I
yeah,
didn't pick
yeah,
up.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I describe principles of urban structure that were known in millennia past and were forgotten or just erased by post-war codes. See, what happens, everyone fell in love with modernist architecture that looks alien, it looks new, glass and steel, the glass box, etc., concrete. But the modernists had these silly ideas about architecture, but they also had even crazier ideas about cities. So
Yeah.
this gave real estate speculators a fantastic opportunity to just to go ahead and use eminent domain and just take over blocks and blocks of perfectly good buildings, destroy them, and build new stuff there, according to the modernist urban ideas, which are all wrong, because the
Yeah.
modernist urbanist ideas are even more crazy than the architectural ideas.
Yeah, Le Corbusier had those cross-shaped, really tall towers in the park. And I guess people eventually ended up building them and no one wanted to live there. And they became like the projects or like in New York, wherever you see those kinds of buildings, you know, it's the projects.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah, well, the astounding thing is that people around the world are still building them. They're building them in China. So new cities are built according to the Corbusian model of those towers in the park. And in China, there are entire small cities, new cities that are built in the last several years, empty, because people refuse to move there. The government has threatened residents somewhere else that they have to move there and they refuse.
Wow.
So you have these new cities that are just totally empty. You can find them on the web, even though there is a big attempt to obscure this, to censor this. But you can find some photos on the web. New
There are
Chinese
some,
cities.
I'll look them up. There are some buildings even here around where I live where they built like new 100-unit buildings and they're mostly empty. Like some have been built like a decade ago and they're still mostly empty. But it's also maybe because they're charging like ridiculous prices, like 3 to 4 grand for a studio apartment. Like it's pretty insane.
Well, okay. That's the market,
Yeah.
There are always forces in the market, but if you offer a product that's attractive, it can play a role in the market. Whereas if you stick to an unattractive model because of some ideology, then you have to force people to use it. That's totalitarian. That's what happens in China, the new cities, ghost cities in China.
Have you seen Stephen Hall's project in China, the sliced porosity block?
No, I
I'm
don't
curious
like
what you
anything
think.
by Stephen Hall. So don't ask me to say anything because it's going to be negative. And I don't know this particular project, but I'm sure I'll have nothing good to say about it.
Yeah, I mean it is pretty massive and scale-wise compared to the human.
It's one building.
Yeah, it's one massive, long housing structure.
So he didn't learn his lesson. Look,
Yeah.
um,
So when
Sergio,
he, yeah, when he,
Sergio Fiorentino built
Sergio.
the Fiorentino in Rome, designed the Corviale social housing project in Rome in the 70s. It's a 1 kilometer long single building, I think 7 stories or something.
Fiorentino, Sergio, I'm not finding it.
Yeah, look up Corviale, Corviale, Corviale. It is hell
Wow.
on earth. So he built this massive.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah, I've written about it. He built this giant thing. He thought it was going to work. Strict Corbusian principles. The
yeah.
fourth floor has all shops and gaiety and fantastic. It's a dump. It's a dump. The Rome police refuses to go to the Corviale because it's so dangerous. So anything that massive is bound to fail because it's inhuman. It goes against all the rules for human scale cities. Now,
Yeah.
I worked for many years with Rome and with the government of Rome. Ever since the 1970s, successive governments in Rome have put in money, millions of euros, to fix the Corviale. So what they do is they go in, they put some paint on it, they plant some trees. It
Magna,
does
yeah.
nothing. So it's just like a sink that you throw money in. Finally, 10 years ago, my friends and I in Rome proposed demolishing the Corviale and building old-fashioned apartments that have the higher density than the Corviale does.
Oh, wow.
And the government of Rome blocked our exposition and conference where we were going to present this. They blocked it. They didn't want to hear about it. They didn't want anyone else to hear about it.
That's crazy because it seems like there's plenty of space around it. When you look behind it, there's a lot of field where you
There's
can
huge
build
space
more.
that's totally
Yeah.
barren because nobody dares to go out in the space. But
I think Stephen Hall's building is a little bit better than this one because he has these slices that come in to bring natural daylight. So there's every so often in the building, there's a huge slice that's at an angle to bring daylight into the
Ara,
building.
please, we're becoming friends. Don't talk to me
Yeah.
about Stephen Hall.
Okay. Um, are you familiar with Lebbeus Woods?
Yes, yes. The less said, the better.
Oh, wow. So I've spent a lot of time looking at his drawings and being inspired by them, his drawings and models. To me, they're just as artwork, I would say. As artwork, the work of Lebbeus Woods is pretty fascinating. Oh, Anne's here.
Here is Anne. Hello, Anne.
I'm so sorry. I had some computer tech difficulties. I'm so sorry, but I seem to be online now.
Welcome, welcome. Yeah, Ara was telling me that he likes Lebbeus Woods drawings, and I despise Lebbeus Woods. But I just want to make the point that somebody can make interesting looking drawings, but when you transform those into a building, it could be frightening and inhuman. You know, the translation creates something totally different.
Yeah, true. But I mean, a lot of his stuff was to re his designs were to rebuild a post-war Sarajevo, and like he wasn't proposing them in like the contemporary cities we would live in. I think a lot of it was to rebuild war damaged areas, and maybe for those areas it might be, I don't know, interesting because he was talking about leaving the scar of the war. Like when you get a scar, it helps you recover mentally. So it's like you see.
No, he doesn't know what he's talking about. People who have gone through a war want to forget it. Okay, they have one memorial. They want to forget it. They don't want to go with their children to school every day and remember the horrible suffering and all the people who died.
That's true.
Right. It's fascinating. You talk about the scar of the war. What's fascinating, do you know London? Have you been to London?
I've been there once, yeah.
So I was in London in March, and you really see the scars of the war there because there were these traditional design
And you're breaking up.
And then where the bomb came,
you're breaking up. You need a better
I'm breaking
connection.
up. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, but you're breaking up. You need a better connection.
Just give me 1 second. I'll move to the
no
better
problem.
room.
Okay, so Ara, let's continue our discussion. You know, I have hung around with architects, and they can say very beautiful things, and then I realize they don't know what they're talking about. They're making things up because they have no feedback from reality. They say, you know, I want to make this for a war-torn city that will help the inhabitants heal. They're just making things up. They have not gotten data from psychologists who help people recover from a war bombing. They don't base their opinions on any facts, any scientific facts. Architects for several decades have been taught just to make things up and not test them. That's terribly dangerous.
Yeah. And like I heard you say back in 2013, a lot of what architects do, the ideas come from philosophy instead of coming from psychology, psychiatry, you know, like that. Instead of coming from that kind of thing, they come from philosophy.
Yes.
And they get abstracted.
Yes.
Yeah. Man, it's kind of it's a hard pill to swallow. Because it's like 80% of what I did in architecture school is not useful. Like it's kind of crazy.
I know that. I know that.
Dang.
Look, I had a problem with my own architecture school because the second time I taught a course on theory, I had a senior student who was very smart. And towards the end of the semester, he got very upset with the architecture school. So he went to the chair without asking me. He went to the chair and had a big fight with the chair, saying that I have been here, 5 years. I'm a senior now, and you have taught me nothing, just the same old garbage. And here, Professor Salingaros is teaching me architecture just as I'm about to graduate. The chair, used to be my friend. He stopped speaking to me.
It seems like a thing that's common in a lot of fields because I hear from people who go to law school that it's like when it comes to them practicing or them taking the bar, it's like what they did in law school seems like it doesn't help at all. And with medicine, like a lot of doctors say that they didn't really cover diet in medical school. It was more about prescribing medication to treat a symptom, whereas it should go to, well, what is your diet like? What is your lifestyle like? And all these questions that they're not really told or trained to ask.
Look, I'm not going to debate that, but let's take a serious topic. If you get a degree in mathematics or in physics or in chemistry or engineering, you go through, you learn a lot of stuff. You have standard textbooks. That stuff works. You use it to build bridges. You build a circuit. That's useful information. I cannot talk about law school because I know nothing about it, but you spend several years getting tried and tested information so that when you graduate, you're a professional, you can do something practical. But architecture school, you spend 4 or 5 years learning nothing except in your technical courses, you know, in the construction science, you actually learn construction. But in the rest, just blah, 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 slogans and images.
Yeah.
Anne, are you
Okay,
back?
so how can, yeah, can you hear me now?
Yes.
Is it steady?
Yeah.
Yeah, so how can we work together? What can we do to help get the science out there? Because it's really not out there, exactly as Nikos says. And it's a tremendous transformational moment. I say it as a Bill Gates, Steve Jobs kind of moment where, you know, the IBM never thought that there'd be, you know, computers in my pocket like there is now, right? And yet now that's our world. You know, they never imagined this. It's 2 college dropouts that came up that changed our world, right? So it's the same kind of thing, that emotions really matter. And the car companies, the tech companies know that. It's fascinating. I just took my students to the Apple store, and we visited the Apple store to see how Apple uses cognitive science to inform design. They know they're designing for a social primate. So the most important thing to see at Apple is other people. And they know we're a social primate that's hardwired to touch things. So they make really big tables and they put iPhones out there and iPads so you can touch them.
Maybe I can try
Because they
to
know.
visualize
What?
some of the data, like some of the, or we can try to visualize, like, I don't know how, but some of the data that gets the information out there clearly. Like, you know how OMA, they have these clear diagrams that show, okay, this is the program, this many square feet, and they have these very clear diagrams. Maybe we can try to diagram some of what you guys talk about, so people can get it in an image. Maybe not. I don't know. Maybe it's worth a shot.
Well, look, I have it figured out. We have 1 or 2 or 3 young people who are doing webinars and videos and publishing them. So here is Ara, whom we have befriended. He's a Californian. That's what you need, a Californian, a young Californian that will spread the word. You know, otherwise, it's not going to spread within academia. Nobody in academia cares about this stuff. You know, architects have their own thing. You know, they're not going to change what they're doing because they think they know everything.
Yeah.
Anne, are you there or did you freeze again? Oh, Anne froze again. You were frozen, Anne. Look, Ara, what disappoints me is the young people. The young people just swallow all the promises made in architecture school. The faculty tell them, you come here, you learn all this stuff, and you'll become a great architect. That's a total deception.
Yeah,
because they're not learning anything. They're learning slogans, and then when they finish their 5 years, they have to go and work as interns in some office, and they get paid, you know, hardly subsistence levels, and they don't know how to design.
For 5 years, it's like where in the studio courses. So the studio course is the majority of our time, is where the majority of our time is spent.
Yeah.
Like you said, there's the professional practice classes, but we don't care about those as much because for studio, we pin up our project, we get critiqued, and we all want to do a good project. And it's like we're all given these crazy large sites, like we're all designing museums, and we all think we're going to be like Frank Gehry, and we're designing these 20,000 square foot museums, and probably less than 1% of us are ever going to get to do that in our lifetime.
Well, I have had many friends, professional architects. How do they keep the food on the table? They do a kitchen addition, they do an enlargement, they do an additional room, you know, a reconstruction of a bank, not a new bank, you know, reconstruction. The student who finishes architecture school has no idea of how to do these practical things.
True.
Absolutely no idea.
Yeah.
But they're led by the promise that you're going to be the new Zaha Hadid. You know, you get to build this fantastic, iconic building for hundreds of millions. It's all a deception to get them to go through the architecture school and to listen to this garbage for 5 years. Okay, Anne, are you back?
Yeah, I'm back. Can you hear me now?
Yes, we can hear you now. So we have monopolized the conversation until now. It's your turn to.
No, okay. Well, how can we work together effectively? I think there's very exciting science out there to get out there about human perception. And we need to start using it the way the car companies and companies like Apple are using it. They really understand people. we're publishing a book called The Handbook of Neuroscience in the Built Environment. It's to be published in June 2025. And I'm going over 30 chapters. And I just got a chapter from a former UC Berkeley professor of environmental design. And he explains neuroscience really well. He talks about mirror neurons and how non-consciously, if we see something smiling, even on a package, our brain is responding internally. That the business world really gets how people work and they monetize it. Companies like Apple really get it.
Let me interrupt you, Anne. I get papers to review all the time, 2 or 3 a week. I have seen about 5 different books written by architects interested in neuroscience, and they all do the same switch, bait and switch. The first 3/4 of the book is very good, and they describe the neuroscience, and then the last third, they give the examples. The examples are anxiety
so this
inducing.
happens all the time. That's just what happens. So the
It happens all
examples,
the time. I'm not giving any names, and you know, so these books
the
are
examples are
supposed
all
to.
modernism that would collapse in a, it was all modernism that would collapse in any biometric study. They're all avoidant. And then the other thing people don't understand about mirror neurons, about perception, is it's preset that our perception is relational. You don't hear that very often. We're built to be a social species. So the most important for us things to see is to have a relationship with another person, with your cat, with your dog. It's relational. So that's one other reason why, you know, the canal houses in Amsterdam work so well on all the tourist paraphernalia. There are always pictures of canal houses in Amsterdam. Why? Because they look like faces. That's what we're built to see. And so that's, the business world really knows that. I have my students also look for corporate logos that are a face. And that's amazing, the number of corporate logos that are faces. It's not just Starbucks or Kentucky Fried Chicken. Do you know Quaker Oats? They invented the face of the person, of the guy, to be their logo. He doesn't even exist. They made him up. You need to have a face as a logo. Why? Perception's relational. And the fascinating thing too is when you start getting into the evolution of the eye. So eyes go way back and they're all supposed to be connected. So non-consciously, I think it goes 450 million years back, animals are always looking for eyes. And so non-consciously, your brain is hardwired to look for anything that looks like eyes.
Now, let me interrupt you, Anne. I have a question for Ara. All this research is available, and it is absolutely essential to create a new human scale architecture that's good for our health. But the young architecture students are simply not interested. They're not interested. You tell them this is important, they say, nah, you know, it doesn't say anything about style.
I find young architects very interested. I find young architects, yes, very interested in understanding stress, happiness, well-being. They're most interested, the young generation. Your generation is going to lead it, all right?
I hope so. I agree. I do reference Christopher Alexander's pattern language regularly. I look at Nikos's drawings, but see, to me, there's something that's really cool. Is it possible to have a building with a steel structure and steel skin that is human and humane and human, like that's humane, livable, not anxiety inducing? Can we take this contemporary language of like what we see Morphosis and Frank Gehry do and reconcile this with the research?
You pose 2 separate questions. Yes, you can use the latest materials to build a wonderful building as long as the design has all the patterns and the design is checked by eye tracking and by sensors to make sure that it gives a good feeling to the user. Now, to use the images of Frank Gehry and Zaha Hadid, no, because if you use the same images, it's going to be just as repellent as their existing buildings. You cannot copy the form language. You can use the materials, but you have to shape the materials according to Christopher's tools. And then you use what Anne and I are doing to diagnose whether the result is engaging in a positive way.
You know what I think I'd love to do with you too, though, maybe on another call, is really start talking about our HAPPY certification course, These are 7 courses. 2 of them are for free. The last 2 are on using iMotions in design and using 3M visual attention software in design. And these are really important tools to use to understand how the non-conscious directs the user's experience. The problem in the design world, you get so used to designing something, you're seeing it every day, you forget how a person walking into the new school, walking into the new building will experience it. So if you go to the Happy certification course, there are 7 courses. The first 5 are $25 each. 6 and 7 are free. And it's just all about trying to get the science of what the business world is using out there. How to use these tools, why eye tracking matters. You know, if you go to business school now in Boston, and you go to Suffolk University, you go to UMass Amherst Business School, you're going to have an eye tracking lab.
What is the website? HAPI?
The happy.org. Just go to the go to genetics of design, thehappy.org, thehappy.org.
I'll check out. I'll definitely check out the free
Go to
ones.
thehappy.org and you see classes, and it comes right up.
Okay.
Okay,
And it's on the AIA website as well.
Okay.
So you can get certified if you take them to retain your architecture licensing. I'd be happy to come and talk to your firm. If you have any licensed architects who need to renew every year.
I'm the only licensed person at my firm. And and that's that kind of why they hired me, because they were advertising architectural services and they got hit with the either cease and desist or need a licensed architect on staff. And that's when they called me and I ended up joining.
That's incredible. Congratulations, Ara. That's
Thanks.
awesome. Yeah. But so, yeah, we want to really get that out to kind of bring them into this new world.
Yeah, now the Anne is plugging her course, and rightly so, because it's a unique course that's available. I have a free 1-semester course of video lectures, but because it's completely free, there's no certification with it. But if you want to post the links to that, I have the 12 videos and all the PDF files of the materials that are freely available.
Yeah, I've seen them. You have a lot of content online, a lot of interviews too.
If you ever wanted to, sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you, but if you ever wanted to have it posted on the AIA website, I could do that for you.
What, my stuff?
Yeah.
Great.
All it needs is learning units. If you want to do it, and we could do it, we have our license to do that through December 31st.
Okay.
Anne, are you an AIA member?
I think it expired. Yeah, my number is 303192224. I'm an AI. I was a member. I haven't updated my resume, my thing for a while, but I am a certified course provider at the AIA. So if you ever want a course too, you could work one out and I could post it. What they have to do is you have to submit your learning units, and then they take 5 to 7 business days, and then they will tell you if you're up or not. And you can put it up on our website.
Okay. Is there separate, so for your state license, you need to do continuing education. And for California, it's mostly about handicap accessibility, ADA stuff. And then I heard if you're an AIA member, there's also continuing education to stay in the AIA. And I don't know if that's different type of. Yeah,
it's different in every state. You're right. In Massachusetts, I think it's 12 or 16, and 8 of them have to be health, safety, and welfare. But they also, I just had someone record a business course, how to run a successful business. And the AIA has courses on that, and you can listen to one of those courses for licensure, to renew your license as well. But yeah, there's lots of science that needs to get out there, and a lot of it's pretty fun. And I'd be happy to work with you on that and to develop even a video around that if you ever want to. Like, what do you learn in the courses? What can we show you? Or even a video on, visiting an Apple store, how every single aspect of Apple interior design, it's neuroscience. They've figured out everything. In fact, my students recently, we were looking at the Apple store. I've taken pictures of Apple stores for the past 10 years. And it's really interesting. They usually have pictures of people on the wall. And then I suddenly realized.
I never noticed that.
Oh, yeah, here they are. Yeah, here, I can share my screen. Yeah, they often have pictures of people on the wall sometimes using Apple equipment, sometimes not, pictures of faces, large faces. And then I started looking at them and I thought, oh my gosh, what do you think is more common? A picture of a female face or a picture of a male face? What will Apple use? Come on, Nikos, what do you guess?
Female.
You got it. So I looked at when the male face is rarely alone, it's usually with a woman. The female face is usually alone. Female face is most of the time. And then I Googled it. Do you know how much more a female model makes than a male model? Okay, guys, double to triple the salary.
Wow.
So just like it's hardwired, you need to see faces, it's hardwired biologically, you prefer the female face. And it plays out in not only the interior design of the Apple Store, it plays out in the salary difference between the male and female model. You know, if you want, I could. It's just amazing what they do.
Wait a minute. We're at 45 minutes, which is the limit of our little videos here. So
Well, we can't record longer in Zoom.
No, but you know, let's keep these to like 40.
But I could show you this really quickly, just so you show. I just want to show you this if you want. If you let me show it to you really quickly for 1 minute. But I'd be happy to talk with you another time just to arrange something so we can arrange some better videos, Ara. But I could show you this.
Sure,
really
absolutely.
really,
And the
really
more we talk, the more like questions I come up with, and the more things that I.
Well, you ask really good questions. You ask really good questions.
Ara, we are doing this with you because you put the questions and we try to answer them, and hopefully we can communicate questions and answers to the world through these videos.
Yeah, you're really good.
Thanks.
Here, you're really good at the kind of questions you ask. But here, I can just show you this really quickly. It's really stunning when you start looking at it, just how nothing is random in the design of these stores. They're very smart. And they really understand not just tech, they understand people. Let me just find the class. Where did it go? Here it is. Class 3. Here it is. Oh God.
I remember what I asked Nikos the first time I heard him talk, because I had just listened to a lot of Patrick Schumacher's, or I was listening to a lot of Patrick Schumacher's talks before Kita Mehta invited Nikos to come talk to us. And
oh, really?
Yeah. I was really into like learning about the whole parametric movement and everything. And
yeah, that's fascinating.
I was actually seeing a lot of similarities between what Nikos was saying and what Patrick Schumacher was saying, because Patrick had talked about collaging cities and not having this monstrosity that has nothing to do with the context. He was talking about like matching the height of the buildings around you and then going to the height of the typology you have, and and he would show these aerial views, Patrick would, where you would see like the buildings kind of like, it's a bunch of separate buildings, but there's like a motion to the heights. And I guess that's not really how the human experiences it at eye level, though.
No, but I have a story for you. Bruce Buckland, the British architect, who just did a wonderful interview of Anne that's available on video, Architectural Theory. Yeah, on YouTube. Very beautiful interview of Anne. So, you know, you may include the link. So he did an interview of Patrick Schumacher. And then he asked him, he said, you know, Patrick, what you're saying sounds just like Nikos Salingaros. What do you think of Salingaros' work, and does it relate to your work? Schumacher totally ignored the question and continued to talk about himself. Just blew off the question. Not very professional. I was so disappointed.
Yeah, I'm not surprised.
I'll just share my screen really quickly, and then I gotta go, guys. But I'll just share. Can you see my screen?
Yes.
Yeah.
So here's an Apple store in 2020, walking in during COVID, and what you see is people. And then this is what's really interesting. This is 2018. You see all the people?
Getting better.
This is 2013.
Even better.
And 5 years later. And then this is how they do the monitors, right? So what happens is the reason they're doing this is approach-oriented emotions, oxytocin, are activated non-consciously with direct gaze. So that's why they're looking right at you. Also, the brain processes images 60,000 times faster than text, so almost no text. The more text in an ad, the less you read it. Now check how they again, faces. It's too fun, huh?
Oh,
And then
yes.
Steve Jobs designed the glass staircase and patented it with some others so that you would see people walking up. Non-consciously, mirror neurons will make you think about walking up. In this Apple store, it's in New York. There's one like it in Boston. I've never walked up 3 flights except in the Apple store, right? So that's basically, it's basically the basic idea. So I have even more pictures like this. And what's just fascinating is how they're using people without paying you a cent to draw you in. They basically set up the store like a Paris cafe. The most important
Right.
thing for you to see is people.
Yes.
Okay, so that's the basic idea there. Oh, even their ads, check out this ad. This is there was road construction. But so very little text, again, 60,000 times longer, but your
Oh,
brain
wow.
non-consciously will look at the girl. She's very pretty. Remember, it's not a guy. Look at the girl at what she's looking at. You see she's looking at the map, and then you'll think about going to the store. And the mechanism is mirror neurons. So that's what's going on. Here it is, here it is, here it is. And then the product placement, remember, Apple is run by PhD neuroscientists. The product placement is all the endowment effect. Just touching something makes you feel like you want to buy it. So Time Magazine had an article 10 years ago, to save money, shop without touching anything. Never touch it. You go shopping, right? So that's the big idea. It's the big idea. So that's the big idea. Steve Jobs quote, the broader understanding of the human experience, the better design we'll have. What he's talking about is the non-conscious experience. And then this guy here, he's Eric Kandel, Columbia professor emeritus. This book is about neuroscience, right? What does he put on it? A sexy girl face. He's walking the talk of the neuroscience, just like Apple is. You're going to be more drawn to look at the book because of the face looking at you. Got it? And this is the most photographed thing in Harvard, the Lampoon building.
Yeah, that's a face.
You see buses with Chinese tourists all get out. They park just to the right of the building in Harvard Square, and they take an iPhone picture with themselves with this building. Okay, got it, guys?
Okay, so let's wrap this up and
We gotta go.